The metal doors of the Galactic Council chamber slid open with a soft hiss. Zixlar rushed inside, his 3 hearts beating fast. The alien archaeologist had never seen anything like what he found on that distant moon. "Council members," Zixlar said, his voice shaking. "I have made a discovery that changes everything." The chamber fell silent. 12 different alien species turned to look at him. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few were made of pure energy. They all waited for Zixlar to speak. "On Moon X-47 I found ruins," he continued. "But these are not normal ruins. They are frightening." He pressed a button and images appeared in the air. The council members leaned forward to look. The pictures showed massive stone walls covered in strange symbols. But it was the drawings that made everyone nervous. The drawings showed creatures that walked on 2 legs. They carried weapons that looked too advanced for ancient times. In one picture, these creatures stood over fallen enemies. In another, they controlled machines that could destroy whole planets. "These beings," Zixlar said, "they were warriors. The most dangerous warriors our galaxy has ever seen." Right at that moment, an alert sounded. A ship was approaching the council station. It was a human ship. Captain Jake Sullivan stepped off his ship, the Pioneer, 20 minutes later. He was tall and walked with confidence. His blue uniform was clean and pressed. He had no idea that the aliens were looking at him differently now. "Welcome, Captain Sullivan," said the council leader, trying to hide its fear. "Thank you for coming." Jake smiled. "Happy to be here. Earth sends its regards." But something was wrong. Jake noticed the aliens were acting strange. They kept looking at him, then looking away. Some were whispering to each other. "Is everything okay?" Jake asked. Zixlar stepped forward. His 4 eyes studied Jake carefully. "Captain, we need to show you something." They led Jake to the center of the chamber. The images from the ruins floated in the air. Jake looked at them with interest, then confusion, then shock. The creatures in the drawings looked human. "Where did you find these?" Jake asked, his voice quiet. "Moon X-47, Zixlar answered. "The ruins are over 50,000 years old." Jake shook his head. "That's impossible. Humans have only had space travel for 200 years. "That's what we thought, too," another council member said. "It was a creature made of blue light. But the evidence is clear. Your species, your ancestors, they were here before." Jake studied the images more closely. The weapons in the drawing seemed familiar somehow. The way the figures stood, the way they moved in battle. It all felt right to him, like a memory he couldn't quite reach. "We ran tests," Zixlar said. "The DNA traces we found match human DNA perfectly." The council chamber was very quiet now. Everyone watched Jake, waiting for his reaction. "If this is true," Jake said slowly, "then where did they go? What happened to them?" A council member with green scales spoke up. "The writing suggests they fought a great war. Something so terrible that they chose to forget. They went back to Earth and started over." Jake felt cold. He remembered how humans were naturally good at fighting, how they learned battle tactics quickly, how they dreamed of space before they could reach it. "You think we're descendants of these warriors?" Jake asked. "We know you are," Zixlar said. "And now we understand why humans advanced so quickly in space technology. Why your military strategies are so effective. It's in your blood." Jake looked around the chamber. For the first time, he saw fear in the aliens' eyes. They were afraid of him, afraid of what humans might become if they remembered who they really were. "We need to tell Earth about this," Jake said. But deep down, he wondered if some secrets were better left buried. As he looked at the images of ancient human warriors destroying entire civilizations, he felt something stir inside him. Something old and powerful. Something dangerous. Ambassador Lisa Mitchell sat across from the Krell representative. The meeting room was tense. Since the discovery 2 weeks ago, every alien species wanted answers about humanity's past. "We need guarantees," the Krell said, its tentacles moving, nervously. "How do we know humans won't become the warriors they once were?" Lisa kept her voice calm. "We're not those people anymore. We've evolved. We choose peace." But even as she spoke, Lisa noticed something strange happening on Earth. People were having dreams. Strange dreams about battles in space, about weapons they'd never seen, about strategies they shouldn't know. Dr. Kevin Porter worked day and night in his lab. More artifacts had been found on the moon, and each one told the same story. Humans had once ruled the galaxy with advanced technology and military might. "Look at this," Kevin said to his assistant. He pointed at symbols on an ancient tablet. "This describes a weapon that could tear holes in space itself." His assistant, a young woman named Amy Clark, leaned closer. "That sounds like the theoretical work our physicists are doing now." Kevin nodded. "Exactly. It's like we're remembering how to build things we forgot." On Earth, military academies reported something unusual. Cadets were performing training exercises with skills they hadn't been taught. They moved in formations that weren't in any manual. They solved tactical problems in ways that surprised their instructors. Jake Sullivan noticed it too. Back on Earth, he watched training exercises with growing concern. Young pilots were flying maneuvers that should have been impossible. When asked how they knew these moves, they just shrugged and said it felt natural. "It's happening everywhere," Jake told Lisa during a secure call. "People are remembering things they never learned." Lisa rubbed her tired eyes. "The aliens are getting scared. They think we're preparing for war." "Are we?" Jake asked quietly. Lisa didn't answer right away. She thought about the defense meetings she'd attended recently. Human generals were suggesting strategies that seemed to come from nowhere. But these strategies were brilliant, far beyond anything in their training. In the Galactic Council, fear was growing. The Draconians, a warrior species themselves, were especially worried. They had always been the strongest military power in the galaxy. Now they wondered if that was about to change. "The humans must be controlled," the Draconian ambassador insisted, "before they remember too much." Other species agreed. They began to form secret alliances, planning for the possibility of human aggression. They didn't understand that humans weren't choosing to remember. It was happening whether they wanted it or not. Kevin made another discovery. The ancient texts mentioned something called genetic memory. The knowledge and skills of their warrior ancestors were coded into human DNA, waiting to be awakened. "This is why humans are so good at video games," Kevin explained to a group of scientists. "Why we love action movies and strategy games. We're practicing skills we used to have." The news spread quickly. Some humans were excited. They felt proud to be descendants of such powerful beings. Others were afraid. They didn't want to be warriors. They had worked hard for peace. Lisa tried to keep the aliens calm. "We're still the same people," she told the council. "We still want peace." But her words sounded hollow even to her. Last night, she had dreamed of commanding fleets of starships. In the dream, she knew exactly what to do, how to position her forces, how to win. When she woke up, the knowledge was still there. Jake was experiencing similar things. During a routine flight, he found himself performing maneuvers he'd never learned. His hands moved on their own, guiding his ship through impossible turns. "What's happening to us?" he asked Kevin. Kevin looked grim. "We're waking up. The question is, can we control what we're becoming?" As fear spread through the galaxy, humans everywhere felt something stirring inside them. Ancient instincts were returning. Memories of battles fought long ago surfaced in dreams. Skills that had been dormant for millennia began to emerge. Aliens watched and worried. They had invited humans into their peaceful federation. Now they wondered if they had made a terrible mistake. Commander Emma Watson stood in the red dust of Mars. Her team had been digging for weeks, and now they had found something incredible. Beneath the surface lay ruins that would change everything they knew about human history. "Commander, you need to see this," called out Dr. Bill Young, pointing to a metal door half buried in rock. The door was huge, covered in the same symbols they had found on the moon. But this one was different. It had been sealed from the inside. Emma felt her heart beat faster. "Get it open," she ordered. It took 3 hours to break the ancient seals. When the door finally opened, stale air rushed out. Emma led her team inside. their lights cutting through darkness that had lasted for thousands of years. The chamber was massive, walls stretched up into shadows, but it wasn't empty. Machines lined the walls, dormant but intact. In the center stood a pedestal with a glowing crystal. "Nobody touch anything," Emma warned, but as she approached the crystal, it activated on its own. Light filled the chamber. Images appeared in the air like a hologram. Emma and her team watched in amazement as the story unfolded. They saw Earth as it was 50,000 years ago. Humans had already conquered space. They had faster-than-light travel, weapons beyond imagination, and colonies across the galaxy. They were the protectors, the peacekeepers. But then something went wrong. The images showed a war. Not against aliens, but against something else. Something dark that came from between the stars. The humans fought bravely, but the enemy was too strong. Emma watched as ancient humans made a terrible choice. They used their most powerful weapons, tearing reality itself. They won the war, but at a great cost. The fabric of space was damaged. Their empire began to collapse. The last images showed the survivors returning to Earth. They sealed away their technology and erased their memories. They chose to start over, to forget the horrors they had seen and done. They reset civilization, Bill whispered. They gave up everything to save what was left. Emma nodded. And they left these places as warnings in case we ever advanced enough to find them again. Back on Earth, Kevin Porter received Emma's report. He compared it with his own findings. The pieces fit together perfectly. It explains everything, Kevin told the gathered scientists. Why humans have instincts for things we never learned. Why we dream of stars we've never seen. It's all there, locked in our DNA. The news spread quickly. Some people celebrated, proud of humanity's heroic past. Others were terrified, knowing that such power came with terrible responsibility. In the Galactic Council, panic was growing. The aliens now understood that humans weren't just another species finding its way to the stars. They were veterans returning to a battlefield they had once commanded. They sacrificed their empire to save us all, Zixlar reported to the council. The enemy they fought, it nearly destroyed everything. And now they're remembering, the Draconian ambassador growled. What if they remember too much? What if they become what they were? Lisa tried to calm the council. We chose peace once. We'll choose it again. But privately, she worried. Last night she had understood an alien weapon system just by looking at it. Knowledge she couldn't possibly have was surfacing in her mind. Jake felt it too. Flying his ship now felt like remembering, rather than learning. He could predict enemy movements before they happened, plan strategies he'd never studied. Emma continued exploring the Mars facility. In a deeper chamber, she found records of the ancient enemy. The descriptions were vague, but terrifying. Creatures of darkness that fed on life itself, that corrupted everything they touched. At the bottom of the records was a warning. They will return. Emma stared at the words. Suddenly she understood. Their ancestors hadn't just hidden their technology. They had hidden themselves, waiting for the time when they would be needed again. The genetic memories weren't awakening randomly. Something was triggering them. Something was coming back. General Ryan Cooper sat in the Earth Defense Command Center, watching reports flow in from across the galaxy. The aliens were getting nervous. Some were already moving their ships into defensive positions. They're afraid of us, he said to his staff. And fear makes people do stupid things. Ashley Brooks, head of intelligence, placed a data pad on his desk. It's worse than that, sir. We've intercepted communications. Several species are planning something. Ryan read the report. His face grew dark. They're forming an alliance against us. The Draconians are leading it, Ashley continued. They're convincing others that we need to be stopped before we fully remember our abilities. Meanwhile, at the Galactic Council, Lisa faced growing hostility. The chamber that once welcomed humans now felt cold and threatening. You must limit your military growth, the Thorian ambassador demanded. Its crystalline body pulsed with angry colors. "Your ships are becoming too advanced too quickly." Lisa kept her voice steady. "We're not threatening anyone. We just want to protect ourselves." "Protect?" The Draconian ambassador stood, his scales rattling. "Your people are remembering how to build weapons that can destroy stars. That's not protection. That's preparation for war." Back on Earth, strange things kept happening. A factory worker named Tom Harris suddenly knew how to improve engine designs. A teacher named Susan Bell drew detailed star maps of systems humans had never visited. Children played war games with strategies that baffled military experts. Jake found himself understanding alien languages without studying them. During a diplomatic mission, he responded to a threat in perfect Draconian before realizing he had never learned their language. "How did you know those words?" the shocked alien asked. Jake had no answer. The knowledge was just there, as if it had always been there. Kevin's research revealed more disturbing facts. The genetic memories weren't just random skills and knowledge. They were activated by specific triggers, as if programmed to awaken when needed. "Our ancestors planned this," he told Emma over a secure channel. "They knew we would need these abilities again someday. The question is," Emma replied, "what triggered the awakening now?" In deep space, monitoring stations detected unusual energy signatures. Something was moving in the dark between stars. The readings matched ancient records from the Mars facility. Ashley brought this information to Ryan. "Sir, we may have bigger problems than scared aliens." Ryan studied the data. "The ancient enemy?" "We can't be sure, but the patterns match." The news leaked to the Galactic Council. Instead of uniting the species, it divided them further. Now they'll use this threat as an excuse to regain their power, the Draconian ambassador argued. "They'll claim they need to protect us just like their ancestors did. And then they'll rule us all." Some species agreed with the Draconians. Others weren't sure. A few, remembering old legends about the ancient war, wondered if humanity might be their only hope. Lisa worked desperately to maintain peace. "If this threat is real, we need to work together," she pleaded. But trust was breaking down. Secret meetings happened in dark corners of space stations. Ships moved without official orders. Everyone was preparing for something, though no one wanted to say what. On Earth, the awakening accelerated. More people reported strange dreams and sudden knowledge. Military volunteers increased by 300%. Weapons research made breakthroughs that should have taken decades. Jake felt the change in himself. His reactions were faster, his mind clearer. When he looked at star maps, he saw patterns and strategies that weren't taught in any academy. "We're becoming what we were," he told Ryan during a private meeting. "And I don't think we can stop it." Ryan nodded grimly. "The question is, can we control it?" As tension mounted, Ashley's intelligence network detected the final piece of bad news. The Draconian fleet was mobilizing. Other species were joining them. "They're going to strike first," she reported. "They think it's their only chance." Ryan looked at the tactical display. Dozens of alien ships were moving into attack positions. Humanity stood on the edge of war, and the genetic memories of countless ancient battles stirred in his mind. "Alert. All forces," he ordered. "If they want to fight, they'll get one." The attack came at dawn, Earth time. Lieutenant Jack Morrison was on patrol near Jupiter when his sensors screamed warnings. Hundreds of Draconian ships dropped out of hyperspace, weapons hot. "This is Lieutenant Morrison to Earth Command," he called. "We have multiple hostiles incoming. They're not responding to communication." The Draconian fleet opened fire without warning. Energy beams lit up space around Jupiter's moons. Jack's squadron of 12 fighters faced an armada. Something changed in Jack's mind. Time seemed to slow down. He saw attack patterns forming before they happened. His hands moved without conscious thought, guiding his fighter through impossible maneuvers. "Follow my lead," he ordered his squadron. Diamond formation. Target their command ships. His pilots obeyed without question. They moved as one unit. weaving through enemy fire with precision that shocked everyone, including themselves. On Earth, alarms blared across every military base. Ryan watched the battle unfold on tactical displays. The Draconians had brought 5 times more ships than Earth's entire fleet. "They're trying to end this quickly," Ashley reported, "before we can fully remember how to fight." But the Draconians had miscalculated. As the battle raged, human pilots discovered abilities they didn't know they had. They flew patterns that defied physics, used tactics that weren't in any manual. Jack's squadron took down 3 command ships before the enemy could react. His fighter moved like liquid mercury, impossible to hit, always in the perfect position to strike. "How are you doing this?" his wingman Carol White asked over the comm. "I don't know," Jack replied. "I just remember." More human ships joined the battle. Captain Helen Torres led the heavy cruiser Defiance into the fight. As she studied the enemy formation, knowledge flooded her mind. She saw weaknesses in their shields, gaps in their defense grid. "All ships, target coordinates I'm sending now," she ordered. "Fire on my mark." The human fleet struck with surgical precision. Draconian ships exploded in brilliant flashes. Their formation began to crumble. In the Galactic Council, chaos erupted. The other species watched in horror as humans demonstrated combat abilities that surpassed anything they had imagined. "They're not fighting like newcomers," Zixler observed. "They're fighting like masters who never forgot." The Draconian ambassador turned pale. "What have we done?" Lisa stood in the council chamber, her diplomatic training warring with new instincts. Part of her wanted to negotiate peace. Another part, growing stronger by the minute, wanted to take command of the battle herself. Back in space, the tide was turning. Human ships moved in perfect coordination, as if controlled by a single mind. Engineers like Mike Coleman found themselves modifying weapons on the fly, boosting power outputs beyond safe limits. "The shields can't handle this much energy," a technician warned. Mike's hands moved across the controls. "Yes, they can. I've done this before." He paused, confused by his own words. Somehow, the Draconian fleet commander couldn't believe what he was seeing. His forces outnumbered the humans 5-1, yet they were losing. The humans fought with skills that took centuries to master. "Retreat," he finally ordered. "All ships retreat." But Jack's squadron had already cut off their escape routes. The genetic memories were fully active now. He knew exactly where the enemy would try to run, how they would attempt to regroup. On Earth, civilians watched the battle on news feeds. Many felt strange sensations, as if they should be up there fighting too. Some reported knowing exactly what moves the pilots would make before they made them. Kevin observed this phenomenon with growing concern. "It's spreading faster than we thought. The battle is triggering memories in people who aren't even fighting." As the last Draconian ship fled, Jack felt the warrior instincts begin to fade. But they didn't disappear completely. They settled into his mind, ready to be called upon again. "Earth Command, this is Morrison," he reported. "Enemy fleet is retreating. Jupiter space is secure." Ryan looked at the casualty reports. Despite being heavily outnumbered, Earth had lost only 3 ships. The Draconians had lost dozens. "They wanted to prevent us from remembering," he said quietly. "Instead, they guaranteed it." The battle over Jupiter changed everything. Across Earth, people woke up different. They remembered things they never learned, new things they never studied. The awakening was no longer limited to soldiers and scientists. Samantha Lee, a young engineer in New Chicago, stared at the weapon designs on her screen. She had started drawing them without thinking, her hands moving on their own. The weapons used principles of physics she had never studied, yet she understood them perfectly. "This can't be right," she muttered, checking her calculations. "This would create a focused gravitational beam that could—" She stopped, realizing what she was designing, a weapon that could crush a planet's core. In Tokyo, pilot Marcus Johnson sat in a flight simulator. He was supposed to be practicing basic maneuvers, but instead found himself executing complex combat patterns. The simulator couldn't keep up with his movements. "Where did you learn that?" his instructor asked, amazed. Marcus shook his head. "I didn't learn it, I just know it." Similar reports came from everywhere. Doctors performed surgical techniques from civilizations that no longer existed. Artists painted star systems humanity had never visited. Children built models of spacecraft using designs that weren't in any book. Kevin gathered data from around the world. The pattern was clear. The more humans used their awakened abilities, the stronger the memories became. It's like a cascade effect, he explained to the world leaders in an emergency meeting. Each person who remembers helps others remember. We're approaching a tipping point. Emma sent urgent messages from Mars. The ancient facility was activating on its own. Machines that had been dormant for 50,000 years were powering up. Something's happening, she reported. The facility is responding to the awakening. It's like it was waiting for this. In space, alien species watched in terrified fascination. Human ships began modifications that seemed impossible. New weapons appeared. Shield systems evolved. The technology advanced decades in mere days. The Galactic Council called another emergency session. This time even the Draconians seemed subdued. We made a mistake, their ambassador admitted. We thought we could stop this. Now we've accelerated. Zixlar presented his latest findings. The humans weren't just warriors. They were guardians, protectors. The most advanced civilization our galaxy has ever known. And now they're becoming that again, another ambassador added fearfully. Jake felt the changes more strongly than most. During flight operations, he found himself thinking in 3 dimensions, seeing tactical possibilities that would have baffled him weeks ago. When he looked at star charts, he saw ancient trade routes and defensive positions. Lisa struggled with her own transformation. In negotiations, she could read alien body language perfectly, predict their responses, manipulate conversations with skills she never learned. It frightened her how easy it was. We're losing ourselves, she confided to Jake. Or maybe we're finding ourselves. I don't know which is worse. The awakening reached a critical point when Samantha finished her first weapon prototype. It was small, handheld, but when tested, it demonstrated power that shocked everyone. This technology is beyond anything we should have, Ryan said, watching the test results. It's like we skipped 1,000 years of development overnight. Marcus led a squadron of newly modified fighters in training exercises. They moved like a single organism, responding to threats before sensors detected them, executing maneuvers that redefined what was possible in space combat. On Earth's moon, an ancient defense grid activated. Satellites that had been hidden for millennia came online. Weapons platforms nobody knew existed powered up. Earth suddenly had defenses that could protect the entire solar system. They prepared for this, Emma realized, studying the Mars data. Our ancestors knew we would need these defenses again. They left everything in place, waiting for us to remember how to use it. The genetic memories weren't random. They were a carefully designed inheritance, triggered by the return of the ancient threat. Humanity wasn't just remembering how to fight. They were remembering their purpose. As the awakening continued, one question remained. Were they becoming humanity's salvation or its doom? Maria Rodriguez stood before the final chamber on the moon facility. She had worked for weeks to decode the last security seal. Now, as it opened, she knew she would find the truth about humanity's ancient enemy. The chamber was smaller than the others, with walls covered in warnings written in 12 different languages. In the center stood a single pedestal with a crystal that pulsed with dark energy. Everyone stay back, Maria ordered her team. As she approached, the crystal activated. Images filled the room. Unlike the other recordings, these were darker, more frightening. They showed creatures made of shadow and hunger, beings that existed between dimensions. They consumed entire civilizations, turning life into emptiness. The Devourers, Maria whispered, reading the ancient text. They came from the void between galaxies. The recording showed humanity's ancestors fighting desperately against these creatures. Normal weapons were useless. The Devourers absorbed energy, grew stronger from attacks, and corrupted everything they touched. Maria watched as ancient humans developed new weapons, tools that could harm beings of pure darkness. But even these weren't enough. The war lasted, generations spreading across the galaxy. The final images showed humanity's last strategy. They couldn't destroy the Devourers, but they could seal them away. Using technology that bent reality itself, they created a prison between dimensions. But the cost was terrible. The process damaged space-time, causing their empire to collapse. They chose to reset civilization rather than risk the Devourer's return. They sacrificed everything, Maria realized. Not to win, but to give the galaxy a chance. The crystal displayed one last message. When the seals weaken, the Guardians must rise again. Maria's blood ran cold. She understood now. The genetic memories weren't awakening randomly. The prison was failing. The Devourers were coming back. She rushed to contact Earth. Ryan and the other leaders needed to know immediately. In deep space, monitoring stations detected what they feared most. The strange energy signatures were growing stronger. Reality itself seemed to ripple in certain regions of space. Kevin analyzed the data with growing horror. "The barriers are breaking down," he told the Emergency Council. "Whatever our ancestors locked away is trying to get out." The news spread quickly through the Galactic Council. Fear turned to panic as alien species realized the true danger. The humans weren't conquerors, Zixlar explained to the Assembly. They were protectors. They gave up their empire to save us all. The Draconian ambassador stood humbled. "We attacked the only people who could save us." Lisa felt the weight of responsibility settle on humanity's shoulders. "What do we do now?" Maria's next transmission provided the answer. The moon facility contained blueprints for weapons designed specifically to fight the Devourers. But building them would require resources from across the galaxy. "We need everyone," she said. "No single species can face this alone." Jake gathered Earth's best pilots for a briefing. As he explained the situation, he saw understanding dawn in their eyes. Their genetic memories recognized the threat. "Our ancestors fought this war before," he told them. "Now it's our turn." Samantha led a team of engineers in constructing the ancient weapons. The designs were incredibly complex, but her awakened knowledge guided her. She understood principles of physics that modern science had yet to discover. "These weapons don't just destroy," she explained. "They unmake things. They're designed to fight creatures that shouldn't exist." The first tear in reality appeared near the Nexus Prime system. A darkness spread from it, consuming light and matter. 3 patrol ships investigated and never returned. Emma coordinated from Mars as ancient defense systems came fully online. Platforms hidden throughout the solar system activated, creating a protective grid around Earth. "Our ancestors prepared for this," she reported. "They knew the Devourers would return someday." The galaxy watched as humanity transformed. Fear of human power turned to desperate hope. The descendants of the ancient Guardians were awakening just in time. Maria decoded the final message from the moon facility. It spoke of unity, of all species standing together against the darkness. The ancient humans hadn't fought alone, and neither would their descendants. "The war begins again," Ryan announced to the United Fleet. "But this time, we're ready." Admiral Christopher Grant stood on the bridge of the newly formed United Fleet. Ships from every species in the galaxy surrounded Earth. Draconian battleships flew alongside Thorian cruisers and human destroyers. For the first time in history, all species fought as one. "The first wave is approaching," Ashley reported. Dark shapes emerged from the tear in space. The Devourers had returned. Christopher felt the ancient knowledge guide him. All ships formed defensive barrier, pattern Omega-7. The fleet moved with precision. Each species brought their own strengths. Draconian heavy weapons, Thorian energy shields, Krell tactical computers, and human strategic command worked in perfect harmony. The Devourers attacked. Darkness spread like ink in water, reaching for the fleet. But humanity's ancient weapons activated. Beams of pure reality struck the shadows, causing them to recoil. "It's working," Samantha reported from her position. "The weapons are hurting them." But the battle was far from over. More tiers opened across the galaxy. The Devourers poured through in greater numbers. Christopher realized they needed a permanent solution. Maria's research provided the answer. "We can't just fight them. she explained over the comm. "We need to repair the dimensional prison." Emma coordinated from Mars. The ancient facility contained the technology to seal the tiers, but it required tremendous power. "We need to link all defense grids across the galaxy." Jake led fighter squadrons in desperate battles at each tier. His pilots, both human and alien, fought with courage that transcended species. They held the line while engineers worked on the solution. The Galactic Council met one final time. No longer divided by fear, they made a historic decision. "Humanity will lead us," the Draconian ambassador declared, "not as conquerors, but as guardians, as they once were." Lisa accepted on behalf of Earth. "We failed once by trying to stand alone. This time, we stand together." Christopher organized the largest military operation in galactic history. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier had a role. The plan was ambitious: create a network of sealed points that would reinforce the dimensional barriers forever. The final battle began at the largest tier near the galactic core. Devourers swarmed in endless waves. The United Fleet fought with everything they had. "Linking defense grids now," Emma announced. Ancient machines across the galaxy connected, creating a web of energy that spanned star systems. Samantha activated the master control. "Firing in 3, 2, 1. A pulse of energy shot through the network. Reality itself seemed to bend and reshape. The tiers began to close, pulling the Devourers back into their prison. But the largest tier resisted. The Devourers fought desperately to keep it open. "We need more power," Samantha called out. Jake made a decision. "All fighters, channel your weapons through the grid. Everything you've got." The combined firepower of thousands of ships flowed through the ancient network. The tier shuddered, twisted, and finally sealed shut with a flash that lit up half the galaxy. Silence fell across space. The Devourers were gone, locked away once more. But this time the prison was stronger, maintained by all species working together. In the aftermath, the new Galactic Alliance was formed. Christopher became its first admiral, leading a united fleet that protected all species equally. Humans took their place not as rulers but as first among equals. "We remember now," Christopher addressed the council. "We remember our purpose. We are guardians, protectors of life itself." The genetic memories remained but controlled now, balanced with modern wisdom. Humans taught other species the ancient ways of defense, while learning from them in return. Maria ensured the knowledge was preserved properly this time. "Never again will we forget," she promised. "Never again will we stand alone." Earth became the heart of the new alliance, a symbol of unity and strength. The descendants of the ancient warriors had returned, not as conquerors, but as protectors, once more. As Jake looked out at the stars, he felt peace. The warrior spirit lived on, but now it served a greater purpose. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy, not through conquest, but through sacrifice and unity. The galaxy was safe, protected by those who understood the price of peace.